Hello and welcome to the New Jersey Morning Show. I'm Cara Falco.
And I'm Kristina Behr. Thanks so much for joining us. You know, this is a show where we highlight amazing people from all around the Garden State. And our first guest is one of them. The first Friday of every February is National Wear Red Day, which is aimed at raising awareness of cardiovascular disease, especially in women. Joining us now to give her perspective is advocate Stacey Quinn. Thanks so much for being with us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, and you both look great in your red.
Thank you. You as well. You as well.
Thank you.
You know, you've talked about this. You are a big advocate of heart health and getting the information out there. Why is February so important for you and for just women in general?
So February is really important to me for many reasons. It's American Heart Month. And the first Friday every February, we celebrate National Wear Red Day. And this is very important to us because we need to raise more awareness that heart disease and stroke kill 1 in 3 women. And what I don't think many people know, that according to the American Heart Association statistics, that 44% of women ages 20 and older are living with some form of heart disease. And additionally, 57% of total stroke deaths are women. And what I learned the hard way is that 1 in 5 women will have a stroke in her lifetime. So we use this month, we use Wear Red Day to raise awareness of heart disease and stroke.
Yeah, it's not just one day, it's the entire month to really hammer that notion in. That is such a crazy statistic to hear.
Because you just, for whatever reason, socially, we don't associate cardiovascular disease with women. It's really kind of viewed as almost a male disease, if you will. But you yourself had a run-in with it several years ago. Can you tell us a bit about your story?
Sure. About 8 years ago, I had what I would describe as the worst headache of my life. I felt nauseous, I felt dizzy, but like a lot of women, I just dismissed the symptoms and I said, I have a really busy day at work. I need to get things done. And as the day went on, the headache got worse. I started to feel worse. And then I was in the meeting with my boss and I slurred my speech. You know, at that moment, I thought I just had a migraine and I went back to work. I went back and did everything. And then that night I did go to urgent care where they told me that I had a migraine and they sent me home with medicine. But fast forward 10 days later, I still have the symptoms. I misdiagnosed a few times. And by the time I got the help I needed, I was in danger of having a catastrophic stroke. So one of the messages I like to get out there to women is you need to be the CEO of your own health. If something doesn't feel right, you know your body best and you need to get immediate medical attention.
Terrifying. Yeah, you have to be your own self-advocate for sure, especially with something this serious. I mean...
And I feel like those symptoms are not, women are so often taught to just power through. Don't let them, see you be weak in any kind of a way, and to ignore their own health. And I feel like the symptoms in women are not... Again, the most common discussion, again, when you think about heart attacks, at least, they often refer to chest pain, but that's usually not a female symptom for that.
Correct.
So
Females typically for a heart attack, it's jaw, neck pain, upper back pain, chest tightness, nauseous, vomiting, where a lot of times I think women, and in fact, I have some survivors that I volunteer with, mistake those symptoms for the flu.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that was my next question. What were some of the other symptoms that we should be looking out for? But I mean, what a crazy experience that you had, and that has now shaped your work on this issue. How so?
Sure. So I've been a longtime volunteer of the American Heart Association, and I recently started my own awareness campaign called My Stroke of Hope, where I go out and I speak to women, all different audiences, sharing my story, sharing stroke symptoms, and telling people that they need to be the CEO of their own health and advocate for themselves and for their health. So it's something that's really important to me because I don't want someone to go through what I did. I got lucky. I was misdiagnosed for 10 days. And as the doctor said, I had an angel on my shoulder that I didn't die. So even if I just touch one person, it's extremely important to me that I help get that awareness out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is incredible. I mean, think about that, 10 days. I mean, it's a shame, really. What are some of the steps that people can take preventatively to improve their cardiovascular health?
I think one of the most important things, and I think this got lost during the pandemic, is it's really important to go to those annual wellness visits with your primary doctor, your gynecologist. Make sure that you go to those because you get the tests that you need to see if there is something wrong. Another thing that is really important as a preventative measure is to exercise regularly, to eat healthy, and if you smoke, please try to stop smoking. That's a big cause of heart attack and stroke.
Wow. Where can people find out more information about you, your organization, and just, Heart Truth in general?
Sure. My website is mystrokeofhope.com. You can also go to goredforwomen.org. And then also this month, something that I did want to plug is CVS Minute Clinics are doing free heart health screenings. So you should look up your nearest CVS and go in there and get a free screening.
Amazing.
Very cool.
That's really neat.
That is good stuff.
Yeah.
Stacey, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing this information with everybody. It really is critical. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
You too.
Yeah, it's so crazy. You don't think about it.
Yeah, and I just again, especially for women, I mean, we dismiss ourselves so often, and it's
100%.
not, go sit down if you have a headache. Go,
Yeah, take the time off.
Yeah.
Take the day off.
Yeah.
You're allowed.
You deserve it. You're allowed. We give you permission.
So listen, this is a crazy story.
Yes, it is.
A driver in Woodbridge recently had a scare when he was driving his brand new Tesla. Suddenly, the steering wheel just fell off in the car. How does this even happen? Check this out. In a tweet, the man said that the incident happened just 5 days after he received this car. Luckily, no cars were behind him when this happened on the roadway. He was able to pull over to the side of the road. No one was injured. In another tweet, the man thanked Woodbridge police officers for their help as well. Can you imagine this happening? You're driving along, just the thing comes off in your hands.
You want to talk about having a heart attack? That'll do it. I mean,
Right. What?
What?
And a Tesla, so that ain't cheap either.
No.
That ain't cheap.
No.
And you got the steering wheel in your hands.
Really, I don't know. I feel like more and more I'm hearing about like a variety of issues with the and I'm like, what is
Did someone
happening?
forget a nail or something?
Yeah.
Like, how does that even work?
I just I don't understand how that happens.
Glad everybody's okay.
Yes,
though.
thank goodness.
Crazy.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
So this has been great. President Biden was joined in New York by New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy to announce a major transportation project for the entire region. A $292 million federal grant will assist with the early construction of the new Gateway Tunnel project. And the president made the announcement while speaking at an underground rail yard in New York City.
It is incredible to be back with the president, and I want to thank him for his continued commitment to what is unequivocally the most important infrastructure project in our country, the Gateway program.
All told, this is one of the biggest and most consequential projects in the country, but it's going to take time. It's a multi-billion-dollar effort between the states and the federal government, but we finally have the money and we're going to get it done. I promise you, we're going to get it done.
So the grant has been funded by the bipartisan infrastructure bill that became law last year. When completed, the project will double the number of rail tunnels under the Hudson River, and it's expected to make the Northeast Corridor more reliable, notoriously unreliable
Yes.
at the moment.
Of course. And here now to give us a little bit more insight is our own Don Smith, who of course knows New Jersey's roads and traffic better than literally anyone in the state.
For sure.
Truly. So Don, why is this project so important from the transportation perspective?
So from the transportation part of it, Behr and Cara, and it really is, one of the oldest tunnels, second oldest, I think, other than the one in Baltimore that the president also visited before he came to New York. As far as just the amount of volume of passengers coming from New Jersey, going into New York to work and vice versa, New York back to New Jersey, it's so heavily used. That's part of the problem, is that you really can't kind of take out one of the tunnels for any kind of repairs without causing catastrophic delays throughout the entire Northeast Corridor system along Amtrak. So that's, and these repairs, they'll do them early in the morning, that type of stuff, but it's just a critical spot, and it just really not much has been done for decades, and it really, to be honest with you, if it wasn't for Superstorm Sandy, I don't know whether we're even at this point, because there was such catastrophic damage in the tunnel back in 2012 because of the storm. So whether we would be at that point, I'm not sure. This project has been ongoing, it seems like, for an eternity. We're just trying to get jump-started, basically.
Yeah.
It basically was thought about back in 2011 when Governor Christie first took office, and there's the plans to continue to push that forward. And it's really been just a seesaw back and forth between how much New Jersey is going to pay, how much New York is going to pay, and how much the federal government is going to pay. And the total, tag on this thing is about $16+ billion.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's huge.
that's what it stands out now in 2023. Who knows what it'll be in 10 years or even 5 years.
Right, by the time it's actually completed.
Yeah.
And Don, what are some of the current troubles facing folks? And I know, I also used to report traffic for many years as well. Amtrak and NJ Transit share a lot of these lines, and so if it goes down, it's not just local commuters. It's a whole massive system that just comes to a halt.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I think a lot of folks who use New Jersey Transit maybe either forget or just don't understand, that the tracks are actually owned by Amtrak. So there's a partnership and agreement there between New Jersey Transit and Amtrak. So when you hear something going down in one of the Hudson River tunnels, the tracks and so forth, it's really Amtrak that has to respond to that problem. And that's where things get interesting. And that's sometimes where it takes that much longer to get things accomplished, because now you're waiting on Amtrak, where New Jersey Transit is pretty much the majority of the trains going in and out. Again, Amtrak trains also go into Penn Station as well. But there's that partnership between the federal government and the states. And that's kind of where this all kind of, I think, gets really interweaved so tightly, and trying to unpack all of it between the money and who's responsible for what, I think has kind of been the bottleneck for, the last 8, 9, 10 years or so.
I'm not going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now talk about passing the buck.
Well, that's the thing. And then, it's obviously, let's be honest, it's political as well.
Oh,
It's
always.
Just, depending on who's in office and who's not. Governor Christie, when he was there, he was looking at for the times, I think it was like either 2016 or 2017, when he ended up stopping the tunnel. And actually, I think if you go and talk, and you can actually see parts of the tunnel that they actually began to start digging out.
Yes.
To start the project, and that is kind of there already. Just the political climate of things, and do you raise fares on New Jersey Transit? Because raising any kind of transit fares is always a hot button issue, and just depends on the timing of it, whether it's an election year or if you're coming off an election year and so forth. So
or 40% inflation,
right,
and all kinds of wild things.
Exactly.
Don,
right. And again,
we want to thank you so much.
Sure.
And Don is, of course, live with us every morning, giving you your live local traffic reports every Thursday and Friday morning. So we appreciate you. Thanks so much, Don.
Sure, you're welcome.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be, it's about time.
It's about time.
Waiting a little too long. So there's a new bill in the state Senate that could change how telemarketers operate here in New Jersey. So if passed, the bill would require telemarketers to identify the name and phone number of the person they're calling for in the first 30 seconds of the call. And telemarketers would also have to disclose their mailing address on their websites.
This is a great one.
Yeah.
They're just, it's too much.
It's overwhelming at this point.
Yeah.
It's constant.
Yeah. And it gets to a point where it's like I've missed actual important phone calls because I let it go to voicemail because I think it's a telemarketer.
Right. And because they're able to get those local numbers now. They're able to just kind of like dial in and create those fake local numbers, and you're like, is this my doctor calling me? Exactly. And then it's like, you get that recording.
Yeah, so that's a good thing to happen. Well, the Monmouth County SPCA recently helped care for an alligator that was found in a parking lot in Neptune. Crazy story. Here now to talk about it is their executive director, Ross Lisitra. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Ross.
Good morning, ladies. How are you? You look great in red, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. You as well. Tell us a little bit.
There you go. He got it.
SPCA.
He got the memo for sure. Tell us a little bit about this insane story and what exactly happened with that alligator.
Yeah, so on January 15th, on Sunday evening, we do the animal control for Neptune Township, Asbury Park, that whole area, the county SPCA does. And we received a call for a Good Samaritan who found an alligator in a Tupperware container abandoned in a lot next to their house off of Bangs Avenue in Neptune Township. So, of course, obviously, our animal control people responded, and they found a juvenile alligator about 3 feet long in this black Tupperware container. And of course, we took custody of it and interviewed the Good Samaritan, this gentleman Angel Rosario, who found the alligator. And basically, his story was he was a young man, and he said as he was walking back to his house, he noticed something that was out of the ordinary in the lot next door. He looked into the container and found this alligator. So, as you know, the Monmouth County SPCA is one of the premier humane law enforcement divisions in the state, out of the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office. And of course, immediately our law enforcement division jumped on this, because if it was a true story, it was an abandonment. It was on a freezing cold Sunday night. And, as we all know, alligators and those type of animals are, indigenous to warm weather and could never survive in this type of weather on their own. I have to tell you, from the very, 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 very beginning, of course, my background being a retired detective from the prosecutor's office for 30 years and former chief of humane law enforcement before I became the executive director and county commissioner, immediately we thought this story was suspicious. So
your spidey senses were tingling, huh?
It doesn't take a whole lot of spidey senses for this one. I mean, who would abandon an alligator on Bangs Avenue in Asbury Park? There's so many other,
so random,
so many other better areas. So, of course, our law enforcement division of the SPCA, which are all retired detectives and police officers who work for the county SPCA, out of the prosecutor, and we quickly were able to determine after we put the news press out, we put the Good Samaritan's name in there purposely, with the fact that we started to receive phone calls from people saying, "Hey, wait a minute, this Mr. Rosario has a friend who has an alligator." And so, okay, that's not a difficult case to solve. And sure enough, when we did identify Menendez, he was the man who actually did have the alligator. The story was that he bought this alligator at a expo in Pennsylvania where it's legal. It's not legal here in New Jersey. He took this little alligator home to his house in East Orange, and he raised it to where it was about 3 feet long, and then he got evicted out of his apartment. And then he brings it to Monmouth County in Twinbrook Apartments with a bunch of other friends of his, and subsequently they're getting evicted out of that apartment. And Rosario says, "I'll take it." And so he takes the alligator and he goes home to his parents, and his parents are like, "Are you out of your mind? You can't have an alligator in a house." So they all concocted this story that they found this alligator in the lot over. So, but I want to make this clear, and I said this in all the original interviews that we did, even though what they did was horrifically wrong by making a false police report, they did do the right thing by notifying the authorities. I mean, they could have abandoned the alligator.
I was going to say they could have truly abandoned it,
somewhere in a pond.
They could have put it in a pond. They could have let it go in the woods, which of course ultimately it would have died. And so as wrong as they were for making up this false police report, we're glad that they did turn it over to us. And of course, we were able to get the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife involved immediately. They took custody of the alligator. And what I understand is that it's been transported to the Cape May Zoo, and then from there heading to Florida. So where it belongs. So at the end of the day, it's a happy story. We did charge, or we didn't, the New Jersey Department of Fish and Wildlife charged Menendez with having a species illegal in New Jersey without a permit to do so. And we haven't charged the Good Samaritan or his family with filing a false police report on this end. So again, we knew right from the very beginning there was something suspicious here. But the overall message here for everybody is, these animals, as luring, as tempting they are, when you see these at shows, they grow up, and they need very, very specialized care. And there's no one around here that can do that. They in with the proper authorities, like the zoos or a reptile farm in Florida. And
not for nothing. I mean, ultimately, at the end, this is a predator.
This is that 3-inch or however 3-foot guy is going to be.
It's cute when it's this big. It's terrifying when it hits 8 feet long.
Well, listen, ladies, I have to be honest with you. When I was in the room with it, when my animal control officer was this big, stocky guy who was holding this alligator, I was scared.
Yeah.
I was afraid that thing would get away from him.
Got a lot of
See me
teeth.
running down the hallway.
Yeah.
Because you'll lose a hand or a finger with this size alligator as it is. I mean,
Yes.
it's big.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
So tell us some of the great work you guys are doing right now in terms of animal care, not just in Monmouth County, but across New Jersey.
Of course. So, the Monmouth County SPCA is, if I may say so, is the leading animal welfare organization in the state of New Jersey. I mean, we have such a beautiful shelter. We have over 6,000 animals that come through our shelter every year. I'm proud to say last year we had a 98% save rate.
Wow.
Doing all the great work we do. We have a full service medical center. We're one of the largest veterinary centers in Monmouth County to offer low quality vet care for anybody that comes in. We have noticed over our years of enforcement that there were animal cruelty cases for people who just couldn't afford veterinary care. And our board of directors and myself, along with all my workers at the SPCA, in 2017, we launched this full veterinary center. And I got to tell you, it has been unbelievably successful. And the beautiful part about that model is the little bit of money that we do make. We do have about a 25 to 30% profit margin. Every nickel that goes over to the shelter to care for the animals that are in the shelter that has nobody to care for them. And that's about an $800,000 a year medical bill that's a gaping hole that we need to fill. So this offsets that about $300,000-$400,000 a year. And the rest, of course, obviously, we do through fundraising. So the SPCA and many of my other associate shelters throughout the state, do our very, very best to educate the public on, humane treatment of animals, making sure, there's such an important part of our lives, all of us. We all, I own a farm full of animals and all my years in the prosecutor's office, that's how I got to the SPCA. I wound up buying a piece of property, a farm to help rescue farm animals for the shelter.
Oh, wow.
And, and that's ironic because people always ask me, how'd you wind up from the county narcotic strike force, homicide, gang units to taking over the Monmouth County SPCA? And there's very few people I don't know that don't love animals. And,
right,
it's true.
There's nothing political about them, which I love. There's our politicians on both sides of the fence support us tremendously, which we're so proud of. And it's just a really great good place. And I encourage anyone to come down to see us in Eatontown, 260 Wall Street. You can get a great tie like this at our thrift shop for $1, and it's just really a wonderful place. And I'm proud of this. We have nearly 100 employees that work at the SPCA and about 400 volunteers. And, we've been around for 77 years. 77 years.
Good stuff. Hey, Ross, if somebody wants to volunteer, if they want to adopt an animal, I will scream it from the rooftops, adopt, don't shop.
Yep.
My rescue dog is the best person I've ever met in my life. Where do they go?
Yeah, they come, they can go right online, the Monmouth County SPCA.org. They can sign up for our volunteer program. We have orientations, periodically as we do, and we bring them in. And as far as adoption, just come down to the shelter. We are open 7 days a week.
Nice.
Our adoption hours start at 12 o'clock. We have night hours on Thursday, Friday. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are night hours till 7 o'clock. So for those of you, most of us are all working until at least 5.
Yep.
So to come down. And, we'll be happy to help you with anything you need. And we have everything, cats, dogs, of course, obviously, small furries, rabbits and ferrets. And
just not alligators.
The alligators got to go back to Florida.
No.
Yeah,
Ross, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We so appreciate all your information and for sharing that story with us and how you guys handled it.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
You too.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Like I said, I will forever go. If you want a pet, go. Even if you want a purebred something, there's breed.
There's
specific
adoptions.
rescue groups. Go rescue one. They need a home, and nobody will be better to you. I promise.
Yep. Oh, that's 100%.
All right. Let's bring in meteorologist Mike Favetta. We can get a little bit of an idea of what to expect weather-wise.
Yeah.
We've been talking about a very warm winter so far. You guys have mentioned there's flowers blooming here across New Jersey.
My allergies
in January
are insane.
Yeah.
Yes.
I keep sneezing. My eyes are
Allergies,
itchy.
they typically fire up. But when you have so much warm weather and a warm trend, that's what we've been seeing. So when we look at the long term, we think of climate, and you've heard a lot about climate change, but how is that affecting us here in New Jersey? And that's something that we look at, especially going forward in time. the month of January broke a record for record warmth. It was 44 degrees on average during the month of January, and that shattered the old record from way back in the 1930s of a 42-degree average. Typically in January, it should be in the mid-30s. So here we are finishing off the month of January with so much warm weather, and you may wonder, how does that impact us? Now, Cara mentioned allergies. That's a big part of what to expect in future winter warming. There are earlier blooms, there's more pollen, and yes, it makes for a very uncomfortable feel, especially if you're an allergy sufferer, with all of the really impressive allergies that have been happening so far, even early this season. So pollen is definitely a big part of that. But there's other impacts too, such as those that wanted to go skiing. We've got some big ski resorts here in New Jersey, and yet it really hasn't been cold enough at night for those ski resorts to make the snow and the, to turn on those snow cannons, because it has to get down to a certain temperature, even up in Sussex County and out in Warren County, where most of the state ski resorts are. Furthermore, we're probably going to see bugs earlier this year, and not just mosquitoes, but those that carry more of the disease types of diseases. So if you'd have a tropical type of winter with milder weather, less freezes, Cara and Kristina, this is typically becoming a problem and something we've seen more and more. And, Cara and Kristina, I've been hearing anecdotally from people saying, why are we seeing such warm weather? Why are we seeing, these rare and weird things happen in the wintertime? Well, it's just that little bit of warmth that's aiding in a long-term warming trend that's causing problems here in New Jersey. So I know you've seen it too. Have you tried? Are any of you skiers? Have you tried going skiing?
I haven't. No, I didn't bother to. I didn't even bother to buy my pass this year, just because Mountain Creek, which is the one I usually go to, they normally do a sale in November. And they say the tickets on sale until Thanksgiving Day or the first snowfall, whichever happes first. And it hasn't been.
We haven't had snow.
Yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been absolutely insane. Mike, is this something to be concerned about?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is this going to happen for next year as well?
For certain industries, yes. Now we do have some extremes. Last winter we had some very cold months, and then January of this year it was a very warm month. But the long-term trend is, I think, really what we need to focus on, and that's why I want to show you the next graphic of what Newark, for instance, has seen, because some nights in Newark have been very mild in years past with these warmer than average temperatures. However, some of the nights have also been much colder down here. However, there have been 5 fewer nights of freezing temperatures in the last few years in Newark, and even in other places, more urban areas like New York City. How about other places in New Jersey? Look at this, for instance, down in Atlantic City, 16 fewer nights of frigid weather. So there's definitely a warming trend in the long term, and that's something that we're keeping an eye on going into February and March, to see that we'll probably have warmer weather with a very fast warming season during the winter months.
I'm hoping that it doesn't go the opposite way, Mike, and then all of a sudden we just get snow in April and like a dumping, and then we're just like, what happened? Everything just got moved back.
That is my uneducated prediction.
Right.
It's a fear, but you think about what we've seen so far during January and February, how it's already appearing to be like what March typically does, where you have some really mild afternoons that it feels like middle of springtime, followed by a pretty chilly morning. So maybe we'll see this trend continue.
Yeah. Crazy.
Fascinating, Mike. Yes. I love going to Professor Mike's meteorology class. I love it.
Absolutely. Here all the time. Oh, and on the website, AnnaandJay.com.
Always.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike, thank you.
You bet.
Hey, did you hear Valentine's Day is coming up? I personally hate it. I've always hated it. But you know what? A new report from Wallet Hub ranked New Jersey as the 7th best state in the country for single people. So there's some positive here. The study looks at factors like dating opportunities, restaurants per capita, and the crime rate. New Jersey was 7th in dating opportunities and 8th in romance and fun. The Garden State didn't do as well, though, when it comes to dating economics, finishing 22nd in that area.
Well, that's because we have more restaurants, but they're also more expensive.
Right. And then, of course, the whole inflation thing.
The inflation thing is not helping either, but yeah. So,
interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, sticking with Valentine's Day, Point Pleasant Beach is bringing back its annual Show Us Your Heart scavenger hunt to celebrate. The event will be held in the shopping district and will feature a downtown bingo hunt, crafts, entertainment, and prizes. To participate, families have to register in advance at pointpleasantbeachnj.myrec.com. That kind of sounds like a lot of fun.
That's cute.
I always like the family things
family
around
stuff.
Valentine's Day, because I just always felt, I'm like, you know, you kind of want to celebrate love in all of its forms, and it's just, that's such a solid way to do it.
Yeah, and it's, you know, you always want to say, oh, it's all year round, but, you know, it's nice when there's, like, little kids involved. They can get, you know, they can participate in things like that.
It's like something fun for them to do. Yeah, otherwise it's just to push chocolates and carts.
Which I'm about all year round.
I was going to say, yeah, chocolates I'm never mad at.
Yeah. Well, up next, how one school district in South Jersey is helping their community gear up for the Super Bowl.
This is cool. Plus, what some lawmakers are doing in light of a wave of dead whales washing up along the Jersey shore.
And you can always find us over on social media. Search for @NJ Morning Show on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and click follow.
You're watching On New Jersey, the Garden State source for news, talk, sports, and entertainment.
We have big news here for On New Jersey.
We have an amazing show tonight, as we always do.
We are here at the iconic Drum Thwacket in Princeton with First Lady Tammy Murphy.
Will audiences be expecting you to talk Real Housewives issues?
We're going to be discussing everything from working with small businesses to mental health initiatives.
Work has begun on the New Jersey Hall of Fame at American Dream Mall.
Here now to give us some more insight on the Giants' 5-1 start is Paul Patino. Paul, great to have you back on. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us.
Yeah, you're going to come at us, we're going to come at you 10 times harder.
Watch the Italian America Show every Sunday night at 8 p.m. on News 12 Plus and celebrate the best of Italian American culture. Each week, we will feature an exclusive interview with a prominent Italian American from around the country. You can watch the Italian America Show on Optimum 61, Verizon 530, or stream live from anywhere on News12.plus. For more on Order Sons and Daughters of Italy in America, visit osaya.org and follow along on social media.
Welcome back. A dozen mayors from towns along the Jersey Shore have now signed a letter asking for a moratorium on offshore wind development after an 8th whale died off the coast this week. Preliminary findings from NOAA indicate that the latest whale was likely killed after getting hit by a ship, but there are concerns that the state's offshore wind farms may be contributing to the deaths of these whales. So State Senator Vince Palestina is joining us now to talk about what's being done. Good morning. Welcome to the show, Senator.
Good morning. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, listen, I mean, obviously something's killing these whales. What is going into the investigation for that?
So we've asked for a halt to the offshore wind activity. They're doing two different things related to the offshore wind development. Sonar work to determine, the depth of the water, and then drilling geotechnical work to see how deep they have to put these monopoles into the ocean floor. And so we've never seen the type of deaths of these whales we've ever seen in history. And so we're asking for a stop to the work for a 30-day period. We can get full necropsies on the whales. We can also figure out what they were doing it, where they were doing it, when they were doing it, so we can make sure there isn't a correlation, because there is a lot of concern from mayors, from us, from others, that some of the offshore wind work is impacting where these whales are going, and potentially they're getting.
So what would be the impact of the wind farms if they're shut down? What would be the impact to the environment and the studies that they're trying to do?
So I've only asked for 30 days. I don't think the first construction of these is projected for 2025 or 2026. So, a 30-day break doesn't seem like would have a huge impact on the schedule ultimately, and we think it's the responsible thing to do.
So why do you think some environmental groups are opposing shutting down the wind farms while the whale deaths are being investigated?
they pointed, the NOAA statement that they don't have any direct connection, using the word direct, of course, because we're concerned about indirect, where this work or this activity is, pushing the wells into a different location. But they're pointing to the NOAA statement of no direct impact, and they're also pointing to climate change as this issue that is such a bigger concern than the whales dying. And so those are the two things pointed to at their press conference.
Your district, obviously along the Jersey Shore, right? What type of impact has the offshore wind farms so far had in your community?
So we're not, the work is going on offshore. You hear some people pointing to the possibility of some of the shaking and the vibrations that we have going on in some of the areas in Atlantic County being a correlation with offshore wind farms. But most of the work is going, 10 to 15 miles out offshore. So there hasn't been a huge impact. Obviously, we're in the winter now, so there isn't a lot of people at the shore or at the beach. But come summertime, those impacts are certainly going to ramp up.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah,
absolutely. Senator Palestina, thank you so much for joining us today. We so appreciate your time and your insight. Thank you again.
Anytime. Great to see you. Thanks for having me.
So here's some good animal news for you, right? The harbor seal is being released from the Marine Mammal Stranding Center after spending the last month in intensive care. There she is, or he is. He was being treated for respiratory issues. Not only is the seal feeling better, he's also eating better. The staff says the seal eats up to 9 pounds of fish a day. This was their only patient.
It's a hungry boy.
And they said he's in much better health. By the way, his little snout is in the shape of a heart. So they said it's perfect timing because they're going to be releasing him back into the ocean, back to his natural habitat in the month of February.
Sea pups, I love them.
They're adorable.
They're so cute.
So good to see him doing well.
Yes, absolutely. Glad to see. And that's such a great facility, too, for our marine life. They do wonderful work down there.
They do great work, yeah.
So also, this is a cool story, too. A school district in South Jersey will have a delayed opening the morning after the Super Bowl. The decision was announced in a letter to families earlier this week. School officials say the move will allow students and their families to watch the Eagles play the Chiefs without having to go to bed early. The game is scheduled to kick off at 6:30 next Sunday night. And obviously,
genius.
Yeah, a good chunk of South Jersey.
Idea.
Huge Eagles fans. This is massive for them.
Right.
2 years in a row.
I feel like, though, so many people have petitioned. There have been petitions in the past to move the Super Bowl to Saturdays. People have signed these petitions.
Yeah, either move it to Saturday or make the Monday after
or make
it earlier, like a federal holiday. Yeah, or put it earlier in the day.
So, I think this is genius. I think the workforce should also follow suit and have it delayed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, sometimes the games, when they're really close, they last until 11, midnight, and then, people are still out celebrating. Not me, because I have children, but, it all comes together, and, you want, for restaurants that are holding these parties, and they're, holding these watch, things, they want the business. They want people to stay. They don't want people to leave. So I think it would be a good thing.
Especially in the communities where the teams would have a major fan base, at a minimum. At a minimum.
So brilliant idea.
Good stuff.
Love it. Hey, you can always find us over on social media. Search for @NJ Morning Show on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and click follow.
All right, guys, that does it for us today in the New Jersey Morning Show. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cara Falco.
And I'm Kristina Behr. We'll see you back here next time.